Completing all the levels in Escape Simulator 2 is not the end of the puzzle story of the game. There are of course still the darkest puzzles, which are supposed to be the harder versions of the puzzles we've seen in the normal levels, but there is also more to do with the tokens. While they are not required to complete the levels that are placed in, they do have an effect on the lobby, and we have to find them all in order to unlock the additional puzzles. It's not really a puzzle in itself, finding them. Literally just requires you going through the level and making sure you look at every corner, under every item, and all that sort of stuff. So it's not the most fun part of this game, especially if you already finished everything and then you have to maybe replay some of the stuff, but it has to be done in order to get into this section. Once that is done, you can complete the jigsaws for each of the sections to then unlock further mysteries that need to be resolved. The jigsaws themselves aren't too difficult either, of course. Basic jigsaw rule applies. Place the corner pieces in the corners and the edge pieces on the edges, and you should be able to just go on from there. Okay, with all 3 of the jigsaws done, we've got 3 pictures here, right? And they appear to be referencing objects we can find inside of the lobby. The books with the symbols, those are books that I have noticed before. Yes, we have books on the shelves and they show symbols and they show numbers underneath. So clearly those are related. So the books here, they're each has a symbol and then they go around in a spiral on the picture. So that might be an indication of order that we need to find them in. So if we look for this first kind of a flowery shape with 4 dots and see if we can find it and see where that leads us to. So it can be seen on this book here with a number 4 underneath it. Now it also appears over here with another symbol and another number, but that would be a combination of some sort. Here we have it directly corresponding to number 4. Next one is this square and diamond shaped overlaid with a flower inside. Here it appears 3 times, but let's see if there's a single version of it. If not, it might be a case of something like, oh, there's 2 copies of it and the number is 12, so possibly one of those symbols is worth 6. Well, I'm not seeing a single version, so if 2 of the symbols show 12, and if 3 of those symbols are 18, then yes, definitely one of those symbols is equal to 6. So we can put in here the 4 for the first symbol we found, and then 6 for the second. Then we have this hexagon shape with once again flowery shape inside. So it's here together with our first symbol. So we know the first symbol's value is 4, and by this adding up to 13, we will know that the value of this symbol is therefore 9. Then we have the 4 circles overlaid on a square. So it's here alongside this flower shape that we don't know the value of. Well, we don't know, but we do know because here it is worth 3. And therefore, in this case, the shape we're looking for is worth 5 as the total was 8. So our next symbol is this 3 squares and a circle with some lines. There isn't an exact match for that on the shelves, but we have this symbol here, which is 2 squares and circle with 3 lines, which is a 6. And we also have 4 squares and a square with 4 lines, which is 16, which means there isn't like a direct, oh, the more squares you add between those values don't make sense, right? You can't have a 6 and 16 and one adds up to another with this relationship. But I'm thinking, therefore, the circle in the middle might have the meaning because here the circle only has 3 lines, and therefore this is a match to this symbol, but not really to this one here with the 4 lines, right? Because in that case, it would make sense that each square is a 3, right? Because 2 here, 2 squares add up to 6, and therefore in here, 3 squares add up to 9. And finally, we have a flower in a circle, which we can see here is just 3. We've used it previously for another value as well. And there we go. We receive a key with a puzzle piece on it. Oh, and there is now keyholes under the cabinet where we've have all of our pictures for completing it. Well, this is just a straight key with 2 things, because like some of those keys look very special, right? So I assume it goes onto this side. Okay, so that's the first set of puzzles done. Now the second picture, it has something else. It has chess pieces, and each chess piece is tied up with a string to a card that has a letter on it, and then they go down in rows, which basically this may form coordinates on the chessboard. If we say like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So we can see the black bishop here on h1, then white queen on c8, black pawn on f2, black knight on h4, then white rook on a3, black king on f6, white knight on d3, and another black pawn on h7. So we know we have a chessboard and you can actually play with it, but it's not just for the fun of playing it. So when we look at the board, it tells us which pieces we each, and it also tells us all of the coordinates. Obviously, some pieces are on the coordinates we want to use for another piece, so we're going to have to move them first to get them out of the way. So we have a black knight that wants to go to h4, which is over there. Assume we don't have to like do valid chess moves, we can just put them where they need to go. The black king wants to go to f6. The white knight wants to go to d3. And now we have the pieces that need to be occupying places that other pieces would have taken. So the black bishop wants to be on h1, but that's occupied by this white rook, which means this white rook wants to go to a3. And then this black bishop can go to h1. The white queen can move to c8. And now we have a black pawn that wants to be on f2, which is here. But we don't have any instruction to our white pawn, so I assume it can just go over there and that's fine. And we have another black pawn that wants to be on h7. That was already a pawn on h7, so I may have misread what the piece was. No, that looks like a pawn on h7, a black pawn on h7. Now, a couple of suspicious things. This signature, which looks like Albus times Ater. I mean, it could be a letter X, but it's almost like times something, and then this looks like a square root, so I wonder if this has further meaning for what we're trying to do here. Also, this here, it's obviously code for entering numbers, but there also appears to be some sort of hole, or maybe a handle to go in or something, so there is stuff going on with this puzzle. I wonder if we should maybe remove the pieces we did not use. Can they be taken off the table? Okay, they can only be removed by actually playing chess moves, which means as much as we can place the pieces where we want them to be, we still have to go and get everyone off the board that's not part of the puzzle, possibly, because why would they have that unless it was important? Fortunately, this one pawn can just do the whole job because we don't have to worry about any other rules, like taking turns. Or at least I hope so. I hope that this isn't, you have to play a valid chess game that results in the coordinates that were flagged. Okay, so this pawn wants to be on F2. So that leaves us with the 3 white pieces we're interested in. Now we have to eliminate the black pieces we don't need. We have to be careful with the pawns because we have a black pawn on H7, which is already where it is, and we don't want to eliminate that one. Right, so this guy has to be safe, but all the other pawns can go. Okay, and then the queen goes on C8. Okay, well, that didn't like specifically do anything, but now that we've eliminated things from the board, we get a shape, right? The 2 groups of white and black pieces have formed a shape on each side of the board. So we have this, which could be interpreted as a 3, and this, which could be a 7. So we have a 3 and a 7, and that would make sense with this whole, oh, that looks like there is possibly some maths on that picture based on the signature, right? Because we have this here, which is something times something square root, and 3 times 7 is 21. Oh, is that why this is here? This isn't a thing for a handle. This is gonna be a dot for our silly number that we're gonna get by doing it square root of 21. So that's 4.58257. Okay, there we go. There was chess and maths in a single package. Okay, we get another key. We can put it in there. And this final one is a table, a chair, a vase, and a phone on top. Well, we know that there is this table here, right? That looks like the correct table. Then the chairs, oh, are we counting those things in the room? So like, we know there's a phone in here. There's actually a game mechanic where you can invite your friends. It opens the overlay for here's your friends. So are we saying there is 1 phone and that will be number 1? But then, how many vases are there? Because they're gonna have to be more than 10 to fill in those 2 slots. Although it would have to be actually a 3-digit number, which I'm not sure that's happening. Unless there was like over 10 chairs, which there are not. There are 4 chairs in this room. And how many plant pots? 5? 5 if we count the vase on top of the fireplace. Oh wait, there is something on this. So potentially it's not counting them, is that they have some shapes and patterns that can be interpreted as things. Okay, I've dragged them all in here for inspection, but it seems there's only one of them that has anything special on it. Unfortunately, we can't like pick it up and inspect it more closely in our hands. We can only do this. Okay, well, those are not immediately numbers, but it's definitely a unique pattern we can see. Let's see if we can see that on the other objects called out in here, because that may lead us to something. Yes, there is a pattern on the side of the phone as well. Anything on the chairs, or one of the chairs possibly. Need to inspect them all. Ah, there we go. This chair here has another pattern. Yeah, if I look at this, it does feel like here you could maybe get some numbers from this. It feels like, this could be 5 and this could be 3. And then, I don't know, 0. 0 from those. A 2. A 1. Not sure what this would be. So yeah, I may have to draw them and see what I have. And yes, something on the table as well. Yeah, if we crouch, there is more to see. So this might be like, if we stack them all together as images, we will be able to read numbers from that. So putting those together in the order on the picture, so telephone first, then the plant pot, then the chair, then the table, we can sort of make them match and connect the lines, and we get 536275. So let's see if that works as the number we need. There we go. Another key for our collection, and it goes into the last slot. But that's only 3 of the 7 keys needed for this cabinet. Now, I'm still suspicious of this area above the fireplace showing us 2 crossed keys, because together that would make 1 key with a cross, but also those 3 keys. Now, this seems like quite a completionist adventure, and these 3 keys were for going all of the levels, collecting all of the tokens, right? And only then we could have solved this. So my big suspicion is that these 3 keys will be for solving the darkest puzzles for each of the 3 areas as well, and that's how we may earn those keys. So we will have to dive into those in order to get this advanced, or at least I hope so. So I had a brief look at some of them before on the stream, but we didn't solve anything. So this one is an extension of a previous puzzle where we had 3 of the little gargoyles and we had to determine who was telling the truth, who was telling a lie, but now we have 6 of them, so we have to do it at a larger scale. I think a good strategy for this is finding one that is making a broad statement that's going to be easy to disprove as being something that's possible. So this guy in the corner here says everyone but me is a liar, right? Which means he would be the only one marked as true, everyone else would be lying, but that then could create a paradox that means the puzzle cannot be completed. So for example, the one below him says at least 2 of us are liars, which means if there are 2 or more liars in the set, this one has to be telling the truth, right? It would have to be marked as truth. And marking this one as true would produce 2 or more liars, but it would also say we cannot mark this guy as true, which means that would be not a logic that's possible to follow, and therefore it's basically proof that this guy is lying. What he's saying cannot be the truth, and then work together with this statement. This statement actually, most of us are liars, because again, if this guy is true, then most of them are liars, but we could not mark this one as true because that would invalidate this statement, so that cannot be, which means this guy has to be telling a lie. He cannot be telling the truth. This is not going to work with the other statements. With that in mind, we can move on to there's only one liar among us, because that would mean this would be the only one guy lying, if that was to be the truth. But we have those statements here. Most of us tell the truth, or most of us are liars. Those are mutually exclusive, right? So, which means we will have to mark 1 or 2 of those as a lie, because otherwise it's not going to work with. They can't be most of them can't be telling the truth and most of them can't be lying at the same time. It could be both false if it's half and half. We also have an option for half and half, but they cannot both be true. And so this guy cannot be telling the truth, because if one or both of them will have to be lying, and we know this guy will be lying, that's already more than 1 liar in this group. So you are a liar. So now we have those 3 here. They, as I already pointed out, they are interconnected in a way where if most of them are telling the truth, then most of them are not liars, and also half of us lie, half of us tell the truth, right? So again, if this is true, those 2 are lies. If this is true, those 2 are lies. So it's gonna be one of them is able to be true. And then we also have this guy that says at least 2 of us are liars. And this is already fulfilled, right? We already have 2 liars in the group. So he has to be telling the truth. And so now we go on the balance of truths and lies. Is there mostly liars, mostly telling the truth, or half and half? Well, if you were saying it's half and half, he would be telling the truth, and those 2 would be telling a lie, and therefore we would have 2 truths and 4 lies, and therefore, by the nature of doing that, this cannot be true, right? We cannot have half truth, half lies, because then we have 4 lies and 2 truths in the actuality on the board, which means this guy cannot be telling the truth. And therefore, setting that, we have 3 lies and 1 truth. And again, those guys are mutually exclusive, which means we cannot have most of them telling the truth, right? It's gonna be most of them are liars, and therefore he is telling the truth and he is telling a lie. Ooh, it's lighting up. Okay, we have solved the darkest puzzle. But that's just one of the darkest puzzle from the first area. Right, we still have 3 more just to complete the darkest puzzles for Dracula's castle. So next one is this light division puzzle, where interestingly enough, because when I opened it on the stream, it looked different in terms of the lands had different colorings. I'm not sure if it changes the solution to the puzzle or is this something they just made it to distinguish the areas more. But yeah, I just noticed that those areas were not like patterned before; they were just colors. So I wonder what's happened there. It might purely be to make it easier to see, because I thought previously like there was like 2 green areas and you had to do it like they represented the same kingdom but split, and then I may have been the complication, but maybe no. Maybe it just the 2 colors were too close to each other, so they've changed it. Anyway, the strategy for this puzzle is obviously looking at the pieces we have that are movable and deciding how they have to be divided by the borders of the land, because this time you're looking for a king, a queen, and a princess for every kingdom, so those are the unique icons, right? I would say this is a king, this is a queen, and that's a princess. So this is one unique set that has to go inside one kingdom. Obviously, it doesn't have to all come from the same piece. It could come from different pieces that are coming on the different sides of the land. But we know that this piece cannot be entirely contained inside a single land because it has 2 queens on it. So in this case, we know there has to be a border going through here in order to cut off that second queen. And so putting it in a place like here, right, that's valid. But if we were to put it all the way to here, that's invalid, yes, because the 2 queens are touching each other. So we'll just have to go for the pieces and work out the best configuration. So yeah, this piece has 2 kings and a princess, which means something like that is a possibility, but it being in the one land is not workable. This one obviously has the most. It has 2 princesses, 2 kings, and 2 queens, which means, yes, it has to basically be divided horizontally between 2 lands. I mean, it could be more complex situation if it's adding up with different pieces, but this would be the easiest division for that piece to have. But we will see where it goes to, because we have these 2 queens. Again, they will have to be divided vertically between somewhere. And this one has 2 princesses, which means it could be something like this, where it goes to a land down or to a land above, like this, right? Now it's showing up red because obviously the other pieces are in the way, but that's what it gives us. So for the 6-piece, there is a possibility for it to be divided here as well, because it gives us 3 groups between the green, orange, and yellow. Gives us a king and a queen there, a princess and a king, and a queen and a princess here, which means, for example, to the orange land we would have to add a king, which we can do by using this piece like this, and that also then adds the princess and the king to this queen that was already in the blue land. The queen is red clothing because I pulled this piece into there. So from there, the green land still needs a princess. So we have a spare princess up here, and a king and a princess goes into this light blue section. And actually, that means we can then pull the queens into here and here. And that gets us our solution. So that's 2 out of 4. Next is this bookcase. So originally this was solvable by looking inside of a book, and there was like on one page there were symbols, on the other page there were numbers, and you had to see how they were corresponding to each other. Now we don't have a book here. There is no book or anything else, and there appears to be nothing behind it. It's very dark behind it, so we're pretty much just enclosed into this little area at the front of it. Now, what stands out quite a bit is that the floor is very reflective, right? The floor is very reflective. We can quite clearly see the details of this bookcase on the bottom as well. So maybe if we inspect it, we will notice something. Because previously we were matching families of the symbols to numbers, and we here have like hieroglyphics and stuff like that, and runes, cuneiform maybe, and I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. But yeah, let's look at the reflection. What can we see? So it appears that in the reflection, we can see a Roman numeral placed inside in between the symbols, because here it's not here, right? There isn't any Roman numerals alongside this, but there is a 2 here. So that might just be the numbers we're looking for. So we've got a 2 here. Then is there one for this stack? Yes, there is a 3 down there. That's harder to spot because obviously it blends in better with the shapes of the symbols themselves. Then this one... nothing super obvious other than this potentially being a 5, although I would expect Roman 5 to be centered, not this kind of slanted. And it actually corresponds to a symbol that's here, although here is obviously upside down. But I'm not seeing anything else that would make a Roman numeral. So is it 5 here? And then finally here... oh, there is a 6 here as well. There we go. So those puzzles don't take like a lot of interaction, or they don't have a lot of elements to them, right? They just have something where you have to notice a new pattern or work out the extension, and then they can be done quite quickly. And so the final one for the set. Okay, so here is the puzzle where we describe relationship of symbols on a board with symbols, right? So in the main puzzles, we had to arrange boards based on instructions given in the symbols. But here the board is already arranged, right? We are not changing what it is. We have to describe it in some way. It's also not like a row-to-row relationship or anything like that. We have to describe this whole board with those sentences. I assume it also has to be like enough information that if you were to follow the instructions, having like those pieces given to you, you could recreate this board and there wouldn't be any ambiguity or anything like that, right? So that has to follow. We also get this mysterious eye, which lets us basically review which symbols are for what and like how you do the grammar of it, of like what's, you know, between and counting objects and all that stuff. But from solving the puzzle in the main game, that should be the part that's clear. This is just a refresh on which symbols mean what. Like the main challenge is that yes, we have to form the 4 sentences that would describe this board unambiguously. And so if we were setting something like that up, I think we have to start with describing this top row, right? I think this is where we're gonna use something is in between a number of somethings, because that will lock in that row. And then we will describe other things in the relationship to that. So in that case, we can say that the moon is between 2 stars, right? That is always true. We have to make sentences that will be true across the whole board. So, I mean, we get that with the moon and the stars and the trees and the humans, but then at the bottom, right, we couldn't say that a key is always between 2 swords, because that's true here, but it's not true here, right? So we have to account for that being true. So if we wanted to say that a moon is between 2 stars, so that would let you create that top row if you had the right number of pieces, 3 stars, 2 moons. So to create the second row from that, and then going down to the third row, we have the trees are always under stars, the humans are always under the moon. That's true. And then a key is always under a human, but the sword is not always under a tree. So we would likely be using this relationship of human to key to describe how the third row is formed, right? Because we can't use the sword to tree. And so we would say that a tree goes under a star, which would establish this, right? I go a tree goes under a star, and then a key goes under a human, because that would lock in the fact that a human cannot be at the bottom and therefore it has to be in the second row, and since there are already trees under stars, you would have to put the humans under the moons. So a human goes above a key. I wonder if there are multiple solutions count, right? Like those human going above a key is the same as a key going under the human. We'll see. And then if we already place the keys under the humans, all we have to say is that the swords are to the right of the keys, or the keys are to the left of the swords. Swords is to the right of a key. Okay, there we go. That worked. Not sure if it accepts like the inverse relationships, or do you have to do it specifically to that one, but I would think it would be logical for the inverses to be true and also solutions, because otherwise that would be annoying. That means we're done with everything from Dracula's Castle Darkest Puzzle, and apparently that gave me an outfit, so I can get dressed in my fancy Dracula outfit. But that's not a key. I was hoping for a key for my cabinet. Did one appear somewhere? Now I'm also entirely suspicious of this line that runs around the room. Like, why would you just have this white line painted all around your room? There's also a pattern at the bottom of the gramophone, but I assume that's to be confusing in case you spotted the patterns before you've solved the pictures, because obviously this will tell you which pieces are the correct pieces and in which order. Oh well, I can continue just with the darkest puzzles because I want them solved anyway, and I can return to where am I getting those 3 keys from afterwards, because I want to get everything done. Oh, I didn't get a key like I expected from doing the first set of the darkest puzzle, but there is a cutout in the floor here, so there's definitely something going on with those darkest puzzles. There will definitely be something unlocked, but I guess maybe it's once I do them all. Although yes, that leaves me with the question of like, would it just be this one key here, and therefore where are those 3 other ones from? But we'll solve everything and we will see. So we're moving on to the Lost Starship. So here we have this board. We can issue the instruction to move pieces, and we basically have to get the notches in the right place to show the diamond shapes that are in the middle here. And so we will need this X piece to end up in the middle themselves, and then each of the cutouts will need to end up basically on the opposite. So this piece will need to end up below here. This cutout will need to be on to the right here. This one, oh, okay. So I was like, why is there 2 cutouts for the left side? It's possible this thing makes a piece turn. Yes, so this makes a single turn. And so that will be an added something which I don't think was in the basic puzzle. So we have a left and right, and then a repeated left. But then by turning the pieces, we can make left be top and then top be right. So it might even be that we want to turn multiple pieces simultaneously to give us what we need. And so we also have to think about what moves those pieces need to make to be where they want to be. So the X definitely has to move 1 to the right and then 1 to the bottom, right? Because that's where it has to be. That's the only piece that fits into the middle. But then is the question of, yes, do we need to rotate the 3 pieces like I said, and therefore how do we put everything in the places they need to be in? Obviously, the pushing of the pieces also means that they come out of the other side, which means if something is on the opposite side to where it needs to be, then we're able to just get it still moved there in one move. So with what we just seen, if we're to push this row to the left, we get this piece where it needs to be, but we need to turn it around. And actually, if those 3 pieces turn around, they are gonna be where they need to be, the top and bottom, and then this piece needs to go to the left, and then yes, this piece going on the left, it will also match the other side. So what we want to do here is push the X down, and then we push that whole row by one. That should solve it. There we go. That's another one down. Onwards to the next puzzle. So this is another one of the spaceship ones, obviously, because we're in the spaceship, just a bigger board for the ones where we have to create a sum around the numbers so that it's equal to that number. And we do not have any zeros on the board, because that was kind of an easy start before where there were zeros, so it was like easy, okay, I fill 4 squares with zeros, and that would then cascade nicely across the board. But in this case, we're starting with ones, so we have to decide which space is the kind of best space to fill that will then let us cascade across the board. Ones next to each other, obviously they can share the one, right? And that would fill everything else with a zero around them both. But they could also not share the one, right? Like they could be placed separately. But because we have 3 ones across next to each other, it does kind of tell us that yes, this situation would have to happen, right? 2 of them will share, even if another one of them doesn't share, and then another one of them will be separate, right? Because otherwise it's not possible to do this, because putting a 1 here would mean it has to be a 0 here, and then, you know, unless those 2 ones are sharing, this isn't working. But we don't have a definitive answer whether this is the shared one or this is the shared one. Because here, because there are 2 ones next to each other, but then there is 3s and 2s around them, it is possible for the ones to be separate, right? Like those 2 would be 0, and therefore each one has a 1 just separately from the other one. The addition of those 3s and 2s around those 1 then gives us further information, because I was putting those 1s like at the bottom here, but the reality is for this 3 to be able to function, it will have to share a slot with this 1, right? Because of course it can have 2 ones filled at the top, and then it will have to use one of those bottom slots. Actually, it will only be able to use one of those bottom slots because of this 1 here, right? Like we can't have 2 ones down here and then a 0 up here, because that will invalidate this 1. So while we don't know which side of the 3 the 1 will be, we do know that yes, we have to use those 2 top slots, and it will be one of those slots is a 1, one of them is a 0. But that means that we can then tell that those 2 bottom slots will have to be zeros, because there will be nothing more that can be added to this 1 here. From here, this 2 has already been concluded because of the restriction placed on this 3. So that gives us further information, which means this 3, in order for it to work, it has to have 1s around it. And therefore this 1 is already been used up, and all of this has to be a 0, forcing this square to be a 1 in order for this 3 to work. And then for this 3 over here to work, we need to put 1s into those squares here. And therefore this 2 is now complete, so those 2 squares have to be zeros, which means this 1 has to be a 1. And then for this 2 to work, this has to be a 1, and this has to be a 0 for this. Those 2 1s, there has to be a 1 here, and therefore it's 0, 0. Because there's already 1 here, this is also 0, and there's a 1 here for this 3. This 2 is complete, so we put 2 zeros over here, and so we need 2 1s at the top here for this 2. Again, because of this 2 already having this configuration around it, a 1 goes here, and then a 0 goes here. 1 goes here, and then a 0 goes here. From here, because there's a 2 here and already has 2 1s, so 0 goes here, forcing this to be a 1, forcing this to be a 0, and forcing this to be a 1. And we are done. It's weird that when I return to our lobby, there's always like this weird noise as if something is rustling around, like before I can move, so I can't turn around and see it really, but it's like as if something is going around the room where I cannot see it. I'm sure it's just some weird things like the fire noise or something starting up. Well, I've got more puzzles waiting for me. This time we're looking at some boxes with holes, so yeah, similar to the puzzle from the space cargo section where we have to sort the pieces into holes, but this time we have 2 boxes. And we have rules. Flammable things cannot be next to each other, even not diagonal connections between them. Radioactive matter only chains up to 3, so again, in this case the diagonals don't matter, right? So it's different between the fire and the radioactive matter. Diagonals are fine. And exotic matter cannot share the same row or column as other exotic matter. So they're very exclusive, and therefore they will probably be a very good limiter in terms of what we're gonna be placing where, because it's in a 3x3 grid. There are only 3 possible positions for this matter to be in. So let me pin this here as a reminder. Okay, so we have 2 boxes, but all of the matter is just haphazardly placed on the floor, and so we have to make our own decisions as to where we're putting this. And I guess we have to therefore also figure out how much is gonna be of which matter where. And so going by this whole exotic matter placement, right, we have 7 exotic matters. And so yes, actually it's gonna be split 3 and 4, because as I said, in a 3x3 grid you can only fit 3, and in a 4x4 you only have 4. And so we can basically repeat what it says on that picture, where this is a possible configuration for this matter to exist. And obviously doing something like this would also be okay. It's just depending on other things we need to place it here. So for fire to not touch, even not diagonally, we have an option to place a fire here and place fire here, and then either here or here, right? So it works up to a maximum of 3 fire, and then we have a bunch of radioactive stuff that we can place into here, where there isn't even a 3 chain, right? We get a chain of 2 maximum. Obviously this is not gonna tell us anything until we filled the other ones, but that means we can fit the exotic matter in here just like this diagonally, just to fulfill the criteria. And yes, this is telling us the exotic matter is now wholly correct across the 2 boxes. It's just obviously we're putting it in and then like, oh well, but if it doesn't work for the other ones, it will have to move. So then we still have 4 fire, so it's possible to place it like this so it's away from each other. But yes, we just have to be looking at, we're not creating spaces where there will be long chains of radioactive matter, right? Which I'm already seeing this is not going to work. And so if we swap the 2 exotic matters, that should hopefully allow us to limit the chains. And that's all of them correct. There we go. That's gonna be the last one here. It's the one from the orb, where we must arrange the shapes to make the correct shadows based on the things here. So we can immediately tell is that this pyramid here will need to reside in this top row, because it needs to be reflected onto this shape, right? That's the only pyramid facing this way, but we've got option where to place it, because it can't be here, it will not interfere with the shape, but it cannot be here. So any of those 3 spaces are okay, but this last one isn't. Like, it can be here as well to fill in this shape, although I assume more things will be used to complete it. So this pyramid up top, it needs 2 tall pillars to be complete, and one of those, the pyramids going this side. Interestingly, yes, we have addition of this shape, which could be used to make this work, right? So this is this cube and a pyramid put together. But yes, this pyramid here needs a tall pillar and a lower pillar on those 2 sides, which is probably coming from this here. So those things here are fine. Those shapes here are not fine. We could move this shape in here to fulfill this. But this still needs to move to here. Okay, but this round cylinder is still interfering with us here. It needs to move to somewhere else. So it can be over there. Okay, but it's not doing any. Meanwhile, we're missing a shape from here. So I think the cylinder, it will need to swap with this piece here. So if this goes here, it's fine for those two columns and it's fine for the columns here. Then the cylinder goes here, it fills the rest of the shape. Then we know we want the pyramid down here. We know we want the box here to fill all shapes. And yes, that completes the puzzle. And that gives us a space outfit. There we go. So we're moving on to the Cursed Treasure Darkest Puzzles. And we have this board from the tavern. I mean, that would make sense in terms of the levels in the thing. Where, yes, we have to draw those shapes onto the board following this picture. And it's basically done by if we're moving the shape, it will leave a trail. And it's basically done of, we have this marker here, and if we move it onto a shape, it will then start drawing that shape onto everywhere we go, right? So it creates the patterns. And we basically have to find the right layering of that in order to, like, we could do the first shape, then we override some of the pieces with another shape, and go on until we get the thing we need to get. And so I think the key to this is basically dealing with the furthest away pieces, right? So we have this cluster of sea stars here, and between them some compasses. So if we take the sea star and we want it to be here and we want it to be into this as well, don't worry about the intermediate steps, like they're gonna get overridden. So then we want to go down, and we basically want to fill in this pattern here with the sea stars, and then we have the compass roses going into those two slots. So we can take the compass rose, we can return it to it through here because that one doesn't need to be a sea star, and then we can draw the compass rose where we want it to be here and this side as well. So in theory, this bottom section is now done, and we hopefully shouldn't need to touch it anymore. Then we have this kind of tentacle shape thing, and we have this woven spiral shape. So they're actually intersecting in ways that will probably require multiple passes, because if we take this tentacle, we do want to draw it up here, and then we want to draw it here, and in theory, again, this should be able to just now be a lock-in. We shouldn't need to override it with anything, but we also need the tentacle to go to the other side, so it will override some of the sea stars we have already done. And actually, I missed putting a compass up top in here, so yeah, I'm gonna have to do some extras. So I have to override this, put a compass up there, then take this and draw the tentacles back in here. But it's obviously produced a problem for myself because the sea star is no longer there. And so again, while it made sense to draw those ones at the bottom in that order, right? It may make more sense to do the other ones in a different order. So I've overridden a bunch of this here, but now I will go and return the sea star here and here. Again, we're not worrying about this shape too much yet, because then we're gonna come back through here, pick up this woven thing, put it into here, and put it into here again. Don't worry about the sea star yet, because then we can return, take the sea star, put it back onto here. So where am I still having problems? I still need the woven shape to go into here, but that's, I think, fine, because yes, I need to reach it here, but again, lost my sea stars, so need to go in, get the sea star, put it in there, then get the woven ring, put it in here, get the sea star, put it into here. Still missing something. I didn't go far enough with the ring, so repeating the same thing I've just been doing. I accidentally put this here because the steering of this is not super great, like it keeps getting locked into places I don't want it to go. So to fix this quickly, put the compass there, then put the tentacle here, then return this, get the woven ring, go across, put the ring into here and to here, Then again, return, get the sea star. Get the sea star onto those slots, get the ring, put it onto here, and then return, get the sea star, put it onto here. Slightly messy, but I had the gist of it. So that one's complete as well. And so on to the next one. It's the ones with the keyholes in the desk, but now there's no map, there's no continents, there is no landmass. And so all we have is a bunch of keys. They're also different, like there's golden keys, there's silver keys, okay, because they have different heads, right? The golden key is filled and the silver key is not. And we can see on this globe here that the different shapes are reflected on the keys on the globe. So it will tell us if we want a golden or silver key in a specific place. So now we have to basically look at this and figure out and the globe, figure out if there's any patterns that could indicate to us, hey, this is where that is on this globe, right? I mean, the main thing we know is that presumably top is still top. So this is telling us somewhere at the top we will have two, like in this first row at the top, we will have two keys that are filled, one gold and one silver. And then below we will have two silver keys. Then on the equator, which is the third row, we will have a golden key, and I guess just this golden key. And fourth row we have a golden key, a silver key. That might be the only two. And then we also at the bottom row just have a golden key. So we have this pattern here where there is a golden key at the bottom and a silver key like slapped back on top of it. So we can check for something like that being here. So we don't have it at the bottom, right? Like at the bottom two rows looking from here, there's always offsets, right? And so we have that here. Like those two keyholes are directly on top of each other. So none two others are. Everything is after that is this is slightly offset, right? This is slightly offset. Here as well. Here we have one on top of the other, but this is like mid the section, not at the edge. So I'm wondering if we're looking at this upside down and this is the top of the globe, this is the bottom of the globe. Even though, yes, looking at that, those keyholes would be upside down, but there's nothing here to tell us which side of the desk is related to which side of the globe. Because I think this whole, yes, there being two keys on top of each other like this, that's a very good clue as to the restriction of the surface. Like those two being almost opposite each other should also like be a clue to, like, you know, if we were able to fold this paper around, you know, where would they be? But I don't think it's as clear cut because the way those keyholes are distributed, I could see a couple ways that this could be maybe formed between both the edges. So going by that, what that would give us is we put a gold key at the bottom and the silver key above it from this side into those vertical holes. So gold key here and a silver key here. So with those two keys placed, I think we can try doing things relative from them, right? So if we look up to the next row, we have this gold key going into the middle row here. That's basically about quarter of the globe rotation away here, because it has 4 legs, and so if we place it aligned with the legs and we go to the next leg, that's a quarter, right? So if we just look at the table, I mean, this is about a quarter, and this where this little pattern is a half, so about a quarter would possibly be in this hole. This, if we're on this side of this, we're basically looking from the top of the globe. So from this key, we just place the gold key in basically the middle, more or less. Again, slightly to that side, we've got a silver key. So this isn't even an 8 in a distance. So it would be one of those two keyholes. Let's see if we can measure something better first, though. So again, going back to those 2 vertical keys we've started, if we look at the top part of the globe, we have basically keys in the top and then the second row that are kind of distributed evenly on the 2 sides of the 2 keys that are on top of each other, right? 1 silver key to the right and a golden key to the left. So if we look at this, like we would be looking potentially at this hole and this hole for this sort of even split on the 2 sides of those 2 keys, right? So a silver key would go in here. No, that's a gold key. A silver key would go in here, and a gold key would go in here. Yeah, which is the silver key slightly above this gold key, and then the silver key in the top. And there's another gold key somewhere here in this row. So it is directly underneath the silver key in the top. So there must be 2 keyholes that are aligned, which is this one and this one. So that actually tells us, yes, there's a silver key here and there's a gold key here. And so then it's just this silver key. If we look at this, obviously we have the gold key and the silver key here that this finds ourselves between. And on the globe it is closer to the golden key, right? They're not equal distances, and therefore it is this keyhole. There we go. That's solved. And also there's Latin on outside of this portal we used to go into the levels, so I don't read Latin. We have more darkest puzzles to solve. 2 more. So here we've got the gunpowder puzzles, where we had to set off all barrels at the same time, which I assume is still the case here. And this time we also have platforms that go up and down, and they block access if they're up, I assume, but we can't just have them all down. We have to decide which ones we need up or down and which ones are making each other go up and down and how we will get there, right? So we'll start from here. And so the general rule I've used for solving this main puzzle was, how long does it take to go to the furthest away barrel, right? Because that's basically the line we have to measure against. That's the line we lay, and then we just make the closer barrels take a little detour on that path in order for it to match. And so to get to the back, we have to place 1, 2... Oh, are there different sizes now? No, okay. They're 1, 2, 3 the same. I thought they were like larger square and a shorter square. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across, and then another 3 to get here. So that's 8 altogether. But of course all of them have this half little bit to get to them, right? So we can basically discount the 8th thing and it's 7. Like we can put the little bit of powder into one of each of them first, because each will need to have this. Now, this thing being raised doesn't seem to stop us from putting the powder across like this, right? And therefore, the 2 back barrels, in theory, have the same time to send the flame there. But obviously, there might be some further shenanigans that once we try to make the detours for the other barrels, then we will find, oh, actually, we will need to send it from somewhere else. But let's see. So to make it the 7 we need here. Like we would have 1 from this being shared. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this one is now 7 away. But I assume we're gonna struggle to get this other one because this one, yeah, it has blockages around it. And if I press on this to bring it down, yes, this other side is going to come up and mess that path up for me. Which means, yes, it might even be driven by, we will be extending the back barrel paths because we will need to make longer paths for those ones, right? Because for this to go around here, we would have to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 long path for basically to be able to reach this barrel by taking a detour alongside the pieces that are raised. And I guess it's gonna be same here. Okay, there isn't even a connection here to go around this, which basically tells us that we will have to have this piece down to be able to connect to this barrel with a detour. Otherwise, I guess you would have to go all the way down to here, but that's not exactly possible because those two pieces, yeah, it would link with this path and it would just be a mess, which means yes. That pretty much tells us, I think this piece of the floor needs to be down. But then yes, is this dictating that we need to be going for 9 lines? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so possibly we don't even do a straight line that goes to here, because we're gonna like split it into 2 things. Because if we treated this junction, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 more to reach this barrel. So we could do 1, 2, 3, 4 to reach this bottom barrel. So now we have the 2 barrels on this side taking the same amount of time to get ignited. And so can we adjust the other 2 to take 9? So if we take out all this, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might be a problem that this joins actually, because it's just gonna shorten the path. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What happens if I press this down? Okay, that doesn't mess anything up yet. But again, those 2 are up or down here, so we can't take a loop at the top. So if we made a connection here, I think again the 2 bottom barrels work. Because again, it's yeah, 1, 2 here. So it's just this barrel now that's causing us trouble because it's too short. Because then we need to work 2 extra into this path. But if we're going through here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's too far away. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think they're all taking 9 now with this configuration. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I think that's it, but let's check. So now it's going through the various splits, and they've all exploded at the same time, and we're done. The explosion was a bit underwhelming. Okay, let's continue because this is the final one. So for the final one, we've got the snakes we have to make out of the paths, and there's 2 heads, so I assume 2 snakes, 2 tails. No clear indication which tail is for which snake, but looking at like all of the triangles with the little golden dots, they can move so that we can form the paths for the snake, and then they have like rules of, you know, you can't have the snake split, or it cannot be more than 1 width unit, right? So you can't make it big like this. But also those gray ones without the little handles, we can't move them. And so, for example, to access this tail, we have to go all the way around down through the bottom here. Do it. So both the heads do have access to it. It's just which one makes more sense. Because if this one is going through down here to go around, then this snake would have to be going through the top here, so I'm not sure if that's gonna be possible. One way to work might be backwards, so like working from this tail just to get to somewhere here, to an exit, so we have something that works at the bottom here regardless of which heads end up connecting to it as well. So let's see what we can get. If we move it like this, we can make a shape. I guess we can send it through here. Can make this, but then this is splitting, so it can't be sent there. But then we don't have the reach to cut it off. Alternatively, I can go into here and then here. I don't think we want it to be going that direction, right? That's not very useful for us. Okay, I can turn to here, but then, yeah, I think we're blocked here because of this unmovable triangle. Can we make this work? It's not filling in, so it's not happy about something here. Even though, to me, that seems like this should work, right? It's a valid path. Yeah, not quite sure why this is not allowed. Okay, well, maybe it's a different path through here somewhere. I can go down here again. This is not valid for some reason. Oh, okay, so this is gonna make a nice long tail we can use. Can we connect it to the rest of the stuff? Okay, it can come out through here, all the way up to here, so we should be able to connect it to a head, hopefully. Like this, going around. Okay, and this connects to this head. So hopefully this head works with this tail, and we can get it in there. And go around there. Okay, this is valid, but the rest of it is a mess. There's also like 2 triangles that are broken, so they make an opening even when they're pushed in. I wonder if that is gonna form a part of the solution. Or will it cause us problems because it makes paths that are invalid even though when they should be valid. Because now we have this awkward corner here that's kind of a split, kind of something. And we can send it through there and then... somewhere this way, but that's going down. We don't want that. Can it get in there? Now it's going down away from the tail, so that's not desirable. Working backwards. We can get the tail going up here, but then that cuts off. Okay, so this now makes this head light up, right? But this one got invalidated at some point in my messing around, I guess because I've caused this to be cut off. I'm just gonna mess it up more. Oh, there we go. Fixed it. Didn't even get to see the final path, because it just turned me around. Yes, there we go. The final connection is formed, but yes, somewhere while I was messing with the second snake, I managed to break the first one and then had to fix it. Well, I think this is the final one then, right? If we return from here, we get the pirate outfit. That's our reward. There we go. And yeah, now this is open and we do get a key, but it's the key with 4 ends. And this is saying I have a new thing, but I think it's just because I've completed things. There's nothing more here, no more darkest puzzles. So yeah, this is the key with the 4 ends that goes into here. So where did those 3 come from, right? There's nothing else I can see here that's like, here's a puzzle. Other than like, why is there a white line? But that's not a puzzle. That's just a white line. Makes a shape though. Okay, we get the trophy for doing the darkest puzzles. I guess in the shape of the obelisk, and one for getting all of the token pieces for the wall. Okay, so what is going on then? Nothing yet I found to do with this fireplace carving that shows 2 keys. Nothing inside the fireplace. We can't put that one out or climb in there. mean, the ceiling is also interesting, right? It's we can look out into the night sky and see some stars, but I'm not sure we're supposed to see, especially like with this such an obstructed view, I'm not sure we're supposed to see something in the stars. But yes, weirdly, now that I look at it, it does feel like there are... Oh, I thought there were like constellations blinking, but I think it's just the lighting as the things come into view, they change. So like, if I come here, you can see this sort of triangle, but the stars get brighter as they appear. So if they get hidden by an object, then they dim and then they show up. Not sure that's an actual thing. It might just be the way the game works to show those. Well, I guess are there some sort of constellations I'm supposed to see through all those windows, but it just feels too obstructed looking through the ceiling, and to the side we only have those, like, well, this one tiny window we can't see through this door, and we can't go behind the obelisk. So I don't think that's it. Okay, so lacking finding anything else to do, I've decided to take a look at this Latin on the door. And what it says is, high above, from deep caves to ancient worlds, the morning star lights your way. Look at it and it will reveal the way. And it says that twice, so like this half is then the same as this half. So apparently we do have to look for some stars that will light our way. I have to look at it. Well, I mean, I did look at the stars in here in the windows, but I didn't see anything that would be like, what's a morning star? I know about the North Star. And yes, is it in the lobby or is it in the levels because it's around the levels? I'm like, I already did the hunt for all of the puzzle pieces. Do I have to go and hunt for stars as well? So stars presumably in the sky. So obviously in the bunch of the levels we can see the sky. There might be a couple where we can't because it's like inside of buildings or in dungeons. So in those cases maybe we wouldn't see any stars and we can exclude those levels, unless we're talking that they're in every level we can see the sky with the stars. But yeah, it's the question of there's 3 locks. Does it mean there will be 3 stars, so in each section just the 1 star in somewhere in one of the levels, or in each section every level has a star, and once we find all the 4 stars in the section we get a key for that section? Well, I mean, the only way to answer this is go and do it until I find them. And see if I can tell a morning star from just a star. So we can see there's definitely sky in the courtyard. You can look up, there's the sky above. The feast, again, that might be one where we don't see the sky. There might be windows, but I would have to check. Sweet dreams, there is a balcony, and the crypt, again, it's a crypt. Maybe there will be nothing in it. So those 2 I would say are more likely than the other 2. So courtyard or sweet dreams, I think, are better leads than the feast and the crypt, unless again we're going for there's a star in everyone and we have to find them all to complete the set. Well, let's go to the courtyard. I have some progression in them because of when I was finding the puzzles, I would just quit midway, right, once I've got them without finishing. So there's a sky here, but it is pretty cloudy and there is not a single star to be seen. So I think that will eliminate it, and this assumes the stars are literal, right? Who knows? It could be like the token puzzle where there's just a star token somewhere on the ground and they're like 17 barrels and a bunch of twigs. I don't know. But right now, this tells me no stars here. So let's go. I'm gonna check the feast just to see if there is any sky we can see or any windows. There is windows, but it's entirely dark. There is no looking outside through those. So I'm gonna go with no stars in here. Okay, well, that's a quick one. We can go off to sweet dreams then. I mean, that is therefore the more likely, because in the crypt, I don't think we would be seeing any sky with stars. Here we have, again, a night sky we can see from the balcony, but it's also pretty cloudy. So now I'm a bit worried about this concept of stars. Are they even real stars? There is something there. There is like a blinking object. Okay, I am looking at you, star. What do I need to go there? Like, what did it say? It's like, that's the only star in this whole sky, right? It says, look at it and we'll reveal the way. Okay, do I just put my cursor directly above it? I'm looking directly at it. We're making eye contact right now. How long do I look at it? Okay, we've got some Latin in our corner there. So let's go translate. So it says, the key to the Eastern Star has been discovered. I found it in the vestibule. Okay, where's the vestibule? Do I have to go to the vestibule? I mean, I assume it's not here because this is the bedroom and the balcony and the bathroom. So none of those things are a vestibule. So I assume we can leave this place. Return to the lobby. And there is now a key on the desk. So I didn't have to go to the vestibule and find it. It's just here for me to find. Okay, so that's how it works. So 1 star per level set. Find a sky where you can see things. Now, I'm kind of worried about the starship because obviously there is multiple places we can see the sky and the stars, and then we have even here, even though there isn't the sky directly in the level, we have that magic thing we can look through, and it shows us the sky, I think. So let's just go through and see what I can see. So in this one, the only access to the sky we have is through this little window here, I think. Like, there aren't any more windows. Hi, Captain. But through this window, there is a lot of stars and some sort of nebulas and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if there is one hiding in there. Obviously, we know it's gonna be like blinking red and stuff like that, or some other colors now. So is it gonna be like the other one where it's just gonna be a lonely star in the sky by itself, or is it gonna be hidden among all the space? Yes, there's definitely plenty of stars here, but it seemed like I had to, for quite a while, to have my cursor over the star specifically in order for the message to pop in, and then I assume that's what spawns the key. But that would mean, like, it would be pretty gnarly to be like, oh, and it's like this random star over there, right? Like, I think it will be, looking at that previous one, it will be quite clear that it's at the distinctive one that blinks a lot, not just a static one. And so I'm not quite seeing any of that here. I was kind of questioning it a little bit because that one looks quite bright, but again, it's not changing colors in any way, it's just a static star. So maybe not here. Again, in the bridge, I think is a whole thing where we can go outside and all that, so even more access to space and stars. Like, annoyingly with some of them, because yeah, in this one you can only like go outside once you have the spacesuit, and so if you've like finished the game, you may have not access to it, like you will have to replace some things, but again, that's way too many. Now I'm going for an almost the opposite of the Dracula castle. The Dracula castle was like, there's a sky, but you can't see any stars. In this case, it's like, there's too many stars. I think it would be extremely mean for one of those to be blinking and us to have to figure that out. So I am going to go with not here. Just, you know, more as a hope than anything else, because I don't think I want to be inspecting every single star in there. So again, with cargo hold, we can see the outside through the cargo, like the opening. But again, if there's lots of stars there, then that's probably not it, and therefore it might be through the looking device that we use in the final level. Okay, again, lots of stars we can see through the doors here. So once again, I'm gonna go with it's none of them, and if it is one of them, it would be extremely rude of this game. And so yes, we're going to that final level. Again, helpfully I already have it in a state where I have the looking device. So yeah, here obviously no sky, but through the looking device Oh, but there's also lots of stars here. Well, I don't like this at all. Okay, well because I was so confident I was gonna come here and look at the sky and there was just gonna be one star after there being way too many in the other one. But no, there is absolutely a ton of stars here as well. Okay, well, oh, there is a big red one that just came into view. So do I just look at you? I don't have my cursor dot here, so I can't tell if I'm specifically 100% centered on it, but let's give it a little while of me staring at it. This one is not blinking though. This one is just purely stands out because it's red, so it might not be it. Oh no, there it is. I think this says the same thing, where yes, the key to the eastern star has been discovered. I found it in the vestibule, so we can go back to the lobby and get our key. So yes, I was wrong about them not putting it in a busy sky, but at least in the end, yes, it was big and bright and red, so it wasn't too bad. Okay, so with the cursed treasure, again, we get quite a bit of sky opportunities. The tavern, again, I need to take a quick look because there might be some windows, but I'm not sure we can see through them. There are windows, but yeah, not really seeing much through them. Like the one with a hole, you can sort of get a very limited visual, so I mean it could create an opportunity for them to like hide it at an extreme angle, but having looked through at the various positions, I'm not seeing anything. And again, they are bright and red, so it would be obvious if it came into view, I think. But I mean, this feels like it would be a good place for them to hide it, right? Like one window with a hole that you can see outside too. But no, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so then we have the pirate ship. It's a bit foggy if I remember correctly on the pirate ship. So there's also those little particles, but they're not stars. There's the moon, and other than that, I was about to say there are stars, but no. Though all of those little white dots are like dust particles over the ship, because you can see where I move, the parallax reveals that they're actually quite close to me and they're not out in the sky. So yes, I don't think there are stars. There's just visuals here that trick us into thinking there are stars. Okay, so I think we're safe to say that there isn't one here unless it's bright enough to be peeking through the clouds, but I don't see any red spots in the sky. So then we have the island and the hideout. While the hideout is mostly inside and underground, there are places you can see out into the sky, so it is a possibility. But yes, let's check island first, although it is bright daylight, and while they say it's a morning star, I'm not sure it would be out here during the day. Yeah, obviously it's daylight, so no stars are seen. Sun is in the sky. It's a bit cloudy as well. Just looking around the rocks to see if there is anything peeking. Not seeing anything, like again, peeking between the trees, peeking around the rocks where I can, just to make sure, because obviously that balcony around the castle, you had to basically look behind the building, but no, not much here. Okay, well, the last one it is. So it would be interesting because, yes, that means for the first one, the Dracula's castle is on the third one, then last one for the starship, and last one for the first treasure. They may have just done it randomly, right? There isn't supposed to be a pattern. So yes, there are a couple places here I saw where you can see to the sky, like through this hole. Again, it's broad daylight though, and they've put like light sources to give us some rays. Here as well, you can see out. Maybe from the first chamber too? No, okay. This is blocked in, like clearly it goes out through here, but not, we can't see. Let's try a bunch more angles. Oh? Is this it over there? Possibly. Very well hidden, right? Because you can't weirdly enough, it feels like it's not in the sky, but sort of in between those two rocks, because the way it seems angled. But yes, it's made so that it's only from quite a specific angle we can see that little bit of the sky. Okay, well, we have to leave it staring at it intently, because clearly they don't want to give it to you by just, you know, grazing that view. They want it to be very intentional that you're staring at it. Though it does feel a bit longish, where you're like, am I doing it right? Do I need to move my cursor on top of it for it to work? Okay, there it is. The same message. So that I think means, yeah, we can go. I guess the lobby is the vestibule, sorta. Because, yeah, a vestibule is a transitional area inside an entrance. And obviously, a lobby is an entrance. And this is a transitional area. So, makes sense to call it vestibule. But yes, here it is. Our third star key. And we can place it in the final opening. And what is here? We get a book. A book with birds. We cannot read this book. It is glued together on the pages. Decorative book. And it has a puzzle piece on it because it's a puzzle book. Okay. Well, do we put it on a bookshelf with our other books? Is that where it goes? Because, I mean, there are gaps that a book could go into. Like here. Yeah, nice a gap for a book. Oh, secret tunnel. What? Why is there a timer? What's happening? What am I gonna be doing? Running for my life? Okay. You're about to enter the darkest of puzzles. It requires vast knowledge that can only be obtained outside Escape Simulator. Are you ready? I mean, I don't know. Because what knowledge am I obtaining outside of the Escape Simulator? Okay, we've got a Stargate here that we may open. We've got statues we can carry and move and place. Okay, so I presume we have to arrange them in some way. Like we have spots, rings, then golden rings upon pictures on the walls, then text that's in, I don't know if it's in a language or if it's a cipher. Some of it is scratched out. We have windows that are in front of the drawings or pictures on the walls. Like, are we supposed to overlay them in some way? No, they're just different. Like, here we have some arches, so okay, it matches that. 3 arches on the thing. Here we have a grate, and that matches that there's a grate in the picture. Like, what is the meaning of this? Yes, this column, like, can we align them by moving around? I don't quite know. Like, I'm not sure it would go over perfectly, but it's links this pattern of circles to this gate of some sort. Again, more arches here, circles here. And here, oh no, there's the big arch here. Okay, so yes, we have to find the relation. This is mostly scratched out. The relationship between the text, the circles on the walls, the circles on the floors, the giant arches, or not so giant arches, or like those little entrances. This is about doorways and gates. Are we gonna be creating some sort of scene with the various statues gathered around? Okay, here we even have like stairs we can climb to spots, I guess, again, to place statues to be standing on this wall. And scratched out in some letters. It's definitely some sort of cipher happening. And they obviously all have different poses. Like, some of them are listening, some of them are raising their arms, clenching their fists, reaching out. Like, they're all kind of different expressions, right? They're not just one statue and then the Stargate in the middle. So, oh boy, was I not expecting to be getting into something like this at all. I was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do a cute lobby puzzle, and so far it has taken me on a journey across the levels, and then turns out this is a whole thing. But the question is, can I solve it? I think it will require lots of thinking time and therefore become a whole separate video. So let me know in the comments, is this what you were expecting for me to find? Have you solved this yourself? Don't tell me the answer. I don't need it spoiled. I'm just curious if, others have been here, have others solved it. I'm sure someone has, but you personally, person watching this video, have you seen this? Have you solved this? And I don't know when I may have a follow-up with me having solved it, if they say vast knowledge is required. Now, I don't know how vast, because to be honest, like I would say generally the level of puzzles across the game, it wasn't like super hard. Like, yeah, some things were a bit, held me stumped for a while and stuff like that, but it was nothing, as deep as some other puzzle games that are out there. So it kind of depends what the step up of difficulty is here, and how long is it gonna take me to figure this out, and yes, what is this outside knowledge that we need to have in order to solve it, because, Latin was like, well, yeah, I can put Latin into a translate tool and it tells me, but obviously here we're not dealing even with Latin, right? We're dealing with some sort of ciphers that we have no base of knowing what sort of cipher it is, and some of it is obscure. So we'll see, but you will have to find out later. So leave a like or subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you to channel members for supporting the channel, and I will see you soon on another adventure.